What is up, guys? This is Olympio coming at you with a discussion video about Herald of Perfection and how it can stand up to next coming formats. Now I'm just trying out a different layout, so we'll see how it goes. If you enjoy it, I'll probably do it this way again, but it's easier just for visual effects because there's a normal background and not such a cluttered background when I'm sat down. So, Herald of Perfection. Everyone knows that I love Herald of Perfection. It's in my avatar, it's in my signature, it's in my banner, absolutely everything. I love Herald of Perfection, and I always have. And recently, in the recent formats, Herald of Perfection has been coming a little bit up short, to be honest. With the new formats, Herald of Perfection has, in my opinion, been power creeped. Herald of Perfection is still a great card, but it suffers from the problem of being a ritual monster. Ritual monsters have never really been so predominant in formats, and if they have, they've had one format and then they've just been power creeped. Herald of Perfection is still one of the best ritual cards, if not the best ritual card in the game. Personally, that's what I think. You still got Demise, you've got the Gishkis, which are still, you know, pretty fucking good. Gus Kraken, if it wasn't limited instantly, could have made a huge impact on the game by just looking at what your opponent has, two cards in their hands, ditching it and being like, fuck off. That card could have been absolutely amazing, that deck could have been amazing, but I think Konami just didn't want to see it happen. They kind of learned from the wind-up loop, and it never really came to pass. In this format, the main decks that you will see are Burning Abyss, Shadows, and Stellar Knights. And if we look at the three decks, how can Herald of Perfection stand up to them? What are the problem cards? All three decks pretty much run Breakthrough Skill. Breakthrough Skill is a big problem because Herald of Perfection can't negate the second effect where it banishes itself from the graveyard. So straight away, you've got Herald of Perfection that doesn't have any negating effects, and that is a big problem. If we look at Burning Abyss, it's not too bad because they don't really have that many problem monsters that we can really, you know, that really struggle to break down Herald of Perfection. But they do run Blackluster Soldier, and Blackluster Soldier is a big problem because it can just simply come out and attack straight over that Herald of Perfection. Obviously they do have the breakthrough skills as well. They do have Pallades, which can be a problem at times. Shadows are the one deck that I think aren't that much of a problem for Herald of Perfection because you can negate a lot of the things. With Winder, we don't really need to special summon that many times. We can just do the ARA into perfection just that once and we're happy with that. When I've been testing against Shadows, it's the one deck that I haven't really struggled against. If they do have the breakthrough skill to answer the Herald of Perfection, then they'll use the construct to bounce into it and destroy it straight away, which is a problem. But if you manage to get that Christia out on board, it's pretty much game because they do struggle. Obviously, the Shadows do have the effects to return cards back and destroy cards and so on and so forth, but Herald of Perfection isn't actually bothered by that too much because we can negate it. Unless you go through the whole rule of how Murmurs with Inventory destroyed Herald of Perfection when it was Chainlink 1, because Herald of Perfection can't stop Chainlink 1 if it's multiple Chainlinks that happen simultaneously. So for example, if they went Megalo, discard Inventory and Marksman, if it went Inventory, Marksman, Megalo, you could only stop the Megalo. Then Stellar Knights. This one is a little bit difficult for me because I always fear this matchup because of Stellar Knight. Alpha. Alpha is the counter trap to end all counter traps against Herald of Perfection. It's up there with Divine Wrath. No one really uses Divine Wrath anymore because you've got the Fiendish Change, you've got the breakthrough skills which work just as well. Obviously it's a counter trap so it makes it better, but the discard cost is too much for a lot of people. Stellar Knight Alpha allows the opponent to just really plus off what they're doing, and not only that, it means they are guaranteed to be okay with the card effect off against Herald of Perfection simply because we can't negate counter traps. Now you can put Royal Decrees in your build to counter it. You can also do wiretaps to get rid of those breakthrough skills to send them back into the deck before they have a chance to get into the graveyard. But these are all semantics. These are all kind of ifs and buts. And the chances of that happening are quite difficult and quite low, because you have so many combo pieces in the deck that you need to get out and need to get going, that it is a problem. For this format, I feel that Herald of Perfection is a difficult choice. We have different builds that we can use. We have the Spirit build, the Happy Herald build, Agent build, and there are other builds that you can use. The best two, in my opinion, currently right now, the Spirit build, which is the best one in my opinion, that's the one I play, and then the Agent build, just because There are so many boss monsters in that deck, it is ridiculous. It's so easy to bring out a Hyperion or a Christia and just smash your opponent. But the one thing that deck struggles with is Evil Swans. You might think Evil Swans aren't around this format. You would be surprised. A lot of people have started picking them up because they are a very anti-meta deck, and they can be made very easily into an anti-meta deck. That is the one big problem that agents have. Spirits can easily get around that with their rank 4 plays and their loops with their Izami and Nikotama drawing, but it's still very difficult to deal with Z decks that just can overpower you so much. If we look to the future, and we look to the future of the formats in the Herald of Perfection, Herald of Perfection, as you all I'm sure know, have new support cards coming out in the next set, next challenges, which brings us to the boss, the Herald boss, the Herald god, Herald of Glorious Light, that is basically the exact same as Herald, but it's level 12, so you have to ARA 2 Megamis if you so wish, and its effect is basically the same. It does have an extra 200 attack and defense on the original Herald, so it's 2k attack, 3k defense, which automatically helps against Judgment Dragon, BLS and Beals, because they just can't run over it anymore. The effect though, the second effect, is what sets this card apart from Herald of Perfection. You can negate the summon of special summon monsters. That is huge. Judgment Dragon, no, don't want it, get away. BLS, no, get away. Beals, no, that's fine. Black, no, don't want anything. You just say no to anything the fuck you want. And it is an amazing card, but the downside to it is you need to sacrifice 12 stars of monsters. And that is huge. So it's a very difficult thing with trying to find out the consistency of the deck. And that's one thing that I have been working on quite hard. When the new card comes out, definitely going to have many deck profiles of that, and I'm going to try and get it up as soon as possible. If you look towards next format, you will actually see how Herald of Perfection is going to be going up against Quilloths. Quilloth is the big one that's going to be kind of running around just because of the amount of people who are hyping it and playing it. And to me, it doesn't pose that much of a threat to Herald of Perfection, regardless of if you play the normal Herald or the boss Herald, Herald of Glorious Light, because you can stop a lot of what they're doing. Obviously, Killer is a big thing, because when it summons, you know, it's a big problem, but I feel that if you have Herald of Glorious Light out, it's not going to be too much of an issue, because you can probably see that they're going to be summoning those monsters, those pendulum summons to get it out, and we can just say no to that. Herald of Perfection is one deck that I feel that is always going to be under the radar of a lot of formats, but I don't think it's ever going to go above tier 2.5 maybe at the most. I don't feel that it's a tier 2 deck. I think it'll always be down there with the tier 3s until we start getting Advanced Ritual Art to 3, because that does increase the consistency with the deck. I do feel ARA is going to be going up to 3 at some point very soon because of the new ritual archetype that is coming out. So it's going to be very interesting to see how Herald of Perfection actually goes in the next coming formats. They are my opinions on them. We have a lot of powerful cards, but we also have a lot of downsides to the actual deck, simply because of the mechanic that it is. It is a ritual deck, and rituals do suffer. So hopefully we might be able to get some indirect support with the new ritual cards coming out. They might release some support for the Herald of Perfection deck. So I want to know what you guys think of Herald of Perfection in the coming up formats, and in the format that it is now. Let me know, as I said, down in the comment section below. Like, comment, subscribe, and I shall catch you guys later.